welcome to another edition of What We Should Know, coming to you from Cambridge Community Television. We have a guest with us today from Vida, Urbana, Mr. Ronel. Remy, thank you so much for coming to us, Ronel. I believe you're an activist.
Yes, I am. At heart at first, and then I work as one now.
Wonderful.
Which is nicer, yes.
So, can you explain the work of Vida Urbana for those viewing the show for the first time?
Oh wow! If you here for such a treat, Vida Urbana has been in this community for the past almost 45 years now. We've been doing a lot of things. We work with immigrant community. We work with folks who are facing foreclosure for homeowners and folks who get eviction notice if they and also folks who lives in apartments. We do all kinds of stuff. We find injustice in any way, shape possible, and we fight against that.
Wonderful.
That's what we do.
It's basically, Vida Urbana is basically a housing for justice organization. Is that how you would describe it?
It's a bit of that, but it's not only that we do. We do a wide of other things, you know. Basically, I would call us the mark in the stand. Basically, we're here to fight in different communities, to stay together. We fight for integration, we fight for acceptance, we fight for folks being recognized for what they do in the community. Any form of displacement, we fight against it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So, I believe you also conduct schoolings, educational programs. Isn't that part of your work at Vida Urbana?
Yes, we do that every Tuesday in the evening at 284 Hammond Street in JP. We basically, it's not a class, it's such a great atmosphere. It's a family atmosphere, kids friendly. Folks come in with different issues they have, and then they find out they do have rights to live in the city they love. They do have an obligation to fight what's going on. We face many things. We face mass incarceration, mass eviction. We face homelessness, and most people don't talk about all these things. You know, these things, they don't just happen just to happen. They were planned ahead, you know.
It's true.
They were planned ahead, and then it's just happened. I don't mind if somebody has money they want to invest, but when you destabilize families, when you destabilize communities, when you move folks that live there for years, for generations, you know, because they can no longer afford to live in the neighborhood they love, they grew up in, this is the slap in the face for many people.
It's true.
It is.
So just for the general public, exactly across the street from our studio, a large consortium is planning on building a 21-story building. Ronel, right where you see this building across from us, they plan to build a 21-story, for the most part, luxury apartments.
Of course.
And this is going to destabilize much of Cambridge, Massachusetts, unfortunately, because it will drive the prices of housing up. So the work that you're doing, Ronel, is important to every community.
To every community. We're telling everybody, first of all, you should make a stand. And how do you make a stand if you don't know what's going on in your neighborhood? When you don't walk around your neighborhood, you don't know your neighbors. You don't know that guy in the street corner who sell goods, you know, that guy who has that little store for 2-3 generations, you know. He's making a living there. He knows more about the city that most people know. So you need to sit down, you got to know this guy. You got to make sure it doesn't go away. Or if he goes away, somebody else will replace him. You keep the community together. But what's going on now is that big corporations, folks with deep pocket, very deep, you know. I don't want to say millions, I want to say zillions, if we can say that. They have more money than God in a way, just to insult what's going on here. But yet, they don't think of anybody have a right to stay in the city, anybody belong anywhere. They have the right to own everything and everyone, which is not even fair. The conception is wrong. How far can we go with that? In this country, we are living in luxury. Some of us, what we're taking for granted. Originally, I'm from Haiti.
Oh.
Some of the things I see here, I say, wow, this is luxury. But what I call luxury, folks will say, well, that's nothing at all. I'll tell you about luxury. I could start a yacht now and go down to such and such country and do something and come back in 3 hours. Things that you would dream of doing. It's not that I don't dream of these things, but I want to help that guy who cannot help himself. That guy who did nothing wrong, but working hard. And at the end of the day, when in the twilights of his life, he's got to move to shelters because he can't afford health care. He can't afford a place to live. He can't afford to be in that community that he lived in, that he had family in there. And that guy is not recognized anymore, but he's forgotten.
Ronel, thank you so much for that. That's a great introduction to our work. I have some pictures here of Vida Urbana. Maybe you can help us go through some of these informations. It says here on your website at the top, City Life Vida Urbana, and then slides protect and defend Boston's communities, donate today. Are you having a donation drive?
We're asking to donate as much. I mean, not just money. You should also donate your time, donate your compassion, or go around canvassing sometimes. Or if you don't want to do any of this, you can fund us. You can help us because we do that work around. And most of all, check out your city council. See who's sitting on the bench. If you don't like what they're doing in your city, vote them out. And vote the folks who can help you in. That's what we're doing.
I can hear that. Join tenants in fighting back against unfair rent increases.
Yes, unfair rent increases is just, okay, I'll give you a good example. Somebody who's disabled or retires now, they on Section 8. They cannot afford to pay 100% rate increase. In some cases, that's what we're doing. I work in JP. I work also with folks at a company named APM. They in Hyde Park, Panapin also. They having just outrageous rate increases. $300, $400, $500, $700.
Really?
And then it's just not only these folks they can pay it, but they live there for such a long time. When you move them out, you're asking them to pay that money they don't have. You basically, that's a death sentence. You want them to move out. Now, when they move out, where do they go? How do they live? What do they eat? In the street corner, you're gonna find somebody that's 75, 80 years old that has done his job, that pays society, taxes and everything, and this guy is homeless. Come on,
Ronel,
too much.
That's an excellent point. Working one's whole life, paying into Social Security, paying taxes, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of taxes, and then at the end of their life, then being forced through a foreclosure, losing their apartment if they owned one or their home, impoverishes them for the rest of their lives, certainly.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to see as much as we have that we choose to do that to one another. It's basically greed. It's nothing else. It's just greed. Because at the end of the day, we should love one another, try to help each other out, not pushing each other away. If you don't have that kind of money, maybe you should not live there. Who says so? We built this city. We are workers. We from everywhere to make this city what it is right now. But when it comes to reward what the city has best in it to offer us, and we're being excluded. That's what's going on.
Doing a good job, Ronel.
Thank you.
To be quite truthful, you've used exactly the title of at least 3 popular songs in my generation.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
That's terrific. So it says, unsafe and unhealthy conditions to prevent rent increases. Is that part of the problem?
Yes, it's also a part of it. Okay, I'll give you an example. Somebody who lives in some apartment that have kids, and if you have mice in the apartment, if you have rats in the apartment, if you have roaches in the apartment, those are not healthy conditions for any family to live in. And most of those families agree to live in these conditions.
They've got
They
nowhere
don't
else to
really
live.
complain, they have nowhere else to go. But when you have those rate increases on top of that going on, you push them out. And another thing is that most people that don't know they have rights, once they see that stuff coming in the mail saying you have such and such time to move or sign this, they do move out. And then who pays for that? We pay for that. The city pay. Those who pay taxes, we pay for all that. We cannot avoid that.
Ronel, it says here on our screen that the viewers can see, at City Life we help people stay in their homes. City Urbana is a grassroots community organization committed to fighting for racial, social, and economic justice and gender equality.
Mm-hmm.
Gender equality.
Oh yeah, that's a part of it too. Because too often, unless you strip somebody up, you don't know if they male, female, or whatever they choose to be. So what we do, we say respect everybody. Respect the men and women that you see, the men and women you know, the men and women you don't know. You don't have to be a priest or anything to understand this is something you can do. But give somebody, if they do a hard day of work, pay them for the work they did. Regardless they're men or women, the job is done, right? Pay them accordingly.
I hear you, Ronel. That's a message that resonates with me. And it says, it's asking a question here on your website. Are you fighting to stay in your home? Join us at one of our weekly meetings where you can speak with an organizer and lawyer and meet with others that are fighting the same battles. We have meetings in 3 locations, and then they give it. In Boston, every Tuesday night, as you mentioned.
Yes.
In East Boston, every Wednesday night.
Yes.
And in Brockton, every other Wednesday. I believe that you work in
Yes,
Brockton as well.
I live there too.
Do you?
I live there. Beautiful community, the city of champion. We've been knocked down, but we're not out completely. The city of Rocky Marciano. The city
That's
of Martin
Brockton?
Havlet. Brockton.
Wow.
Marciano,
Oh, right.
Martin Havlet. And that city, unfortunately, for a long time, we led the state in foreclosure. We led the state in drug abuse, And in a lot of things, a lot of stuff we don't want to lead, and that's what we have. So that's why we do that type of work also there. And we come in JP too.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So to the website, it says, recent news from CLVU, City Life Vida Urbana, that's CLVU. Terrific. It's We Rise Up 2016, the annual report. And it looks like there's a donation drive. Why don't we just play this part here,
Yes.
Ronel?
It
See
would be
what
great
kind
if
of
they could do that.
information that comes forward. It's a short.
We don't believe you, cause we the people are still here in the rear, yo, we don't need you.
I'm not going nowhere, that's my home.
Nigga, move. All you black folks, you must go. All you Mexicans, you must go. And all you poor folks, you must go.
Wow.
That is a nice piece of public relations, Ronel.
Thank you. And we're asking everybody to stand with us. If you don't want to stand with us, stand for your city at least. Make a difference in your own city. And when you do that, you'll find out we just met somehow. And that way we can do more, we can be more for every city that we love, We can do a better job. We definitely can.
Your words should resonate with the leadership in Cambridge and Boston, Massachusetts, where homelessness and displacement during the subprime mortgage meltdown between 2000 and the end of 2007, beginning August of 2007, and going on till probably mid 2014 or 15.
Yes.
It was a crisis, Ronel, that millions of people had to suffer under.
Oh, definitely. And then something we don't understand, when the Obama administration considered these countries too big to fail, the auto industry is not supposed to fail. We're gonna bail them out. So what did we do? We used taxpayers' money, our money, to bail the auto industry, to bail the housing industry. Then what happened to those homeowners who faced foreclosure? Did they get the help? Big question mark. Go around, look, you see. Those who faced foreclosure before, a lot of them are not there anymore. A lot of them move out.
Right.
They just had to. So basically, we put money to fix something, but instead, we satisfy the hunger for others who have appetites for money.
Right.
But while the rest of us, we still live in misery.
Do you have statistics? Does Vida Urbana have statistics about how many foreclosures took place and how many families got evicted during the subprime mortgage?
Oh, I know that we do, but unfortunately, I don't have that information with me now. But if you check with us, you check our website, yes, we have that. We have everything.
I'm sure it was in the millions. And
Yes.
the problem with all of this is that when a family gets evicted from their home and the home is foreclosed on, they go into poverty and debt for the rest of their lives.
Exactly. Exactly.
There is no way for them to recoup that kind of financial disaster. And it affects not only the parents who own the property, but the children who suffer, and at times the children's children.
Not only that, the whole community. The community as a whole is affected. Because something else that we see, every time you displace somebody, it's not just the person you displace, it's the whole community. Because that flavor is not there anymore. That smile is not there anymore. Those folks that that give the city that vibe is gone. So now basically we move out. We go like I give you an example. When I first moved here in Massachusetts, I lived in Somerville. I thought, well, I can afford it. Nice little apartment, $300,000 a month. I work as a cook. I can afford that. Yeah, I did. And then a few years after I couldn't afford it, I moved to Dorchester, closer to work. I could afford it, okay. And then I moved to Hyde Park, and then to Roslindale, and then to Randolph to live with my sister, and then apartment in Randolph, and then in Brockton. I decided maybe I can afford this. I moved there, but all along I was being pushed away.
I'm sorry about that.
And I did not know that, but now I know I wouldn't move if I had to do it over. But too many times we're not educated enough in this field to know what gentrification is, to see the invisible hands of gentrification. Those big corporations, folks, like I said earlier, with deep pockets that have more money than God in a way. Just to tell you, they can move anybody they want to move out. The skies are the limit, how much they want to spend if they want to own your city. Everywhere I live now, I want to make sure I own that city. I make a stand. I'm saying I'm standing for you and all those that are facing eviction, that are facing mass incarceration. If we can defend them, let's defend them. Let's make a mark in the stand.
You mentioned mass incarceration, but that's a position we can come to in just a minute. Let me get back to this. Dorchester renters rise up to prevent their displacement. And this is on your website. And it says, the website for our viewers is www.clvu, citylifevidaurbana.org. Ronel, it says here, May 25th, 2017, Sunday, May 21st, 2017, renters in a large apartment building in Dorchester rallied to prevent their displacement. Wallace Properties, their landowner, is raising rents sharply while many tenants complain of bad conditions. Dozens joined the Victory Road Tenant Association to support their collective voice for affordable rents and community stability. Is that a typical struggle that a property owner then raises the rents and the community, the renters come together look for help and support and then protest against this rent increase?
Yes, that's exactly what we say. Don't just say no to say no. Know what you're saying no to. Because what's going on, those folks that come in there, not only too often they don't live in the community, not only they don't really care about the community, because we live there, we pay the taxes on the property they own.
That's true.
Right? Which means it should be ours, but that's how it is. We understand how the system works. But what we do, when we put the tenants together, we say, okay, what you need to do, you need to educate yourself on your situation first, and then you need to get organized, Have somebody to speak with you, somebody that speak for you. You need to speak the language the landlord will understand. The only language they would understand is the language of either resistance or either protesting them. And when you do that, when you try to make it go, when the media get a hold of it, some of them, they're ashamed of what they do and they try to do it otherwise. But we know how to fight them. We know how to fight in this arena. That's what we do.
Wonderful. You're supporting a good cause, Ronel.
Thank you, sir.
Let's get back to this website and see. I believe this is a short that you have on the website. It seems to be, it's Dorchester renters rise up to prevent their displacement. Let's see what this short is about here.
Well, I'm here to fight the Wallace property on the rent increase. I'm in a one-bedroom. They're trying to go up like $295.
And as long as there's city lights, I am not intimidated.
We have children in here, we want a clean environment for them.
When we was trying to form this tenant association, plenty of people didn't know about their rights. They want to raise my rent for $580 more, and what they gave me, nothing. I am not going to stand for that. We are happy with our neighbors. We are happy with our community. We have our kids here going to school in the neighborhood. We're not supposed to run. We're supposed to make our home, send our kids to the school that we feel safe and send them to. Because I learned the city life, when we fight, we win.
My mom doesn't need to pay too much for all these things that happen. It's not her fault they happen. We just live in there and we have to pay all of this.
I had a fire, and so I moved here. There was no place to go. Couldn't get anything at all. And so we're here. But I also have a Section 8, and for some reason my rent has gone up.
What you see today here is happening all over this country. Poor versus the rich. Displacement next. We have to fight, stick together. And if we fight and stick together, we win! So we need more signatures for the tenant council, and we have to stay together. All over this country, or we'd be sleeping on the curb.
Like 59 tenants that came together. It wasn't just city life. It was the tenants.
And we really do need to stop these landlords and these developers from moving us out, bringing up the rent, and chasing us out of our neighborhoods. And we need to stand up to that.
Stop the eviction! Stop the eviction! No for eviction! No for eviction! Stop the eviction! Stop the eviction!
Wow.
That is a powerful statement,
Yes, it
Ronel.
is.
I agree to that completely. That is a powerful statement from your Vida Urbana website. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you very much.
So it's bringing the tenants together, but I'm sure that it's not an easy job bringing tenants together to get them to protest rent increases when they recognize that being public in protesting a rent increase will make the focus on them.
Exactly. Actually, a few of them, they will come into the session we have in, but they tell you, oh, I cannot go out. I don't want to be seen, because then they would mock me out. They would take actions against me. And in some cases, it does happen. But that's why it even is, we gotta do more. we got to identify them even more. We have to make so much noise around them that they stop doing what they do. So basically, they don't own the city. We own the city. Why should they chase us away of the place we love? And no, come on, we build that for them. It wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't make any
Ronel, I
sense.
agree completely. And because 70% of the federal brutto social product is the work that the common man puts into the system. And the 30% is the production of concerns, factories, rents, but it's the people and the work that the people do that drive not only the federal economy but local economies. Your position taken is exactly right.
Thank you. I'm glad you see that. And again, we love this country so much. We love what this country is all about. But when we're doing this to our own citizens, so we cannot criticize a country like China or Russia or North Korea. They're doing wrong. Are we right?
That's a good point.
No.
That's a good point taken. The idea from Republicans is that the United States is the paradise on earth, that every other nation wants to emulate the United States, to be like the United States. The reality is different, I believe. And Vida Urbana is making that point clear, I believe.
That point real clear that there should be no misunderstanding. This country is really great. It could be greater. If this country had lived to its potential, oh my God, we would start walking on hair after a while. But it's not possible. This country does have its flaw. But yet, I'll tell you, there is no other country like it. I'll tell you that with all my heart. But we can do better to love each other, to support each other, to promote each other, instead of promoting our pockets or our bank accounts.
Yeah.
When we die, we cannot take the money with us.
That's true, Ronel. Exactly. And in addition to that, if we had a just tax system,
oh God,
and the very wealthy were paying their fair share of taxes, the system would be different, wouldn't it?
Very different. Actually, we're paying more taxes than those who are rich.
It's true.
And this is wrong, you know. That's what you call the level of disparity is so great that we cannot even conceive to say, wait a minute, I need my cut. When will my turn come?
Exactly.
Everybody can have their turn except me. Why not me?
Ronel, your point is exactly well taken about the taxation, that the poor pay more than the rich in the taxation. And Warren Buffett, the billionaire, says that his secretary pays more in taxes than he does.
Isn't that something?
That is wild.
Wow, that is wild.
That is absolutely wild. But it's the reality. You're mentioning this has given us an introduction to the problem we're having in the closing of the Long Island shelter.
Oh God.
Did you know about that?
I heard of that, yeah. That is really sad. So now, the real big place that used to take care of all these folks there. So then where do they go? What do they do? Imagine when it's cold outside and you can't go home, you can't go in the car and start the car and turn the heat on. You can't do that when you're in the street corner. And most often when you try to go everywhere, folks try to run away from you. They try to push you away. So basically this is what we're doing to the tenants, to the homeowners. We're pushing them away. We can't even wait for them to be at the street corner to do that. We push them away at their own house, push them away from their future, push them away. Is that the legacy that we want to pass on to the next generation?
Certainly not.
It's really sad to see, you know, a country that has so much, but only a few can reap out the fruit of the riches of this country.
That's true. Let's get a look at this problem here with, since Long Island's close, a year since Long Island's closed finds safety net tattered. This is the point that they are making. It's the same point that you make, Ronel, that there are answers. Here are the answers to the questions Celtic fans, that's certainly, Carrie Fisher had cocaine, teen arrested in Saugus, how to live without air conditioning. These are all questions. These are all questions that basically don't have to do
With the show, yeah.
with the show today. So the Globe staff is writing, a year after officials abruptly closed Long Island shelter, evacuating hundreds of homeless residents and recovering addicts because the rickety bridge on the island was no longer safe, gaping holes remain in the city's social safety net. More than 100 recovery and detox beds, much in demand, have yet to be replaced. Many former residents, such as Jacqueline, I can't really pronounce that name, Carrasquillo, have bounced between programs and still struggle with the emotional repercussions of the island's unexpected closure. Was it your opinion as well, Ronel, that shelter closed very quickly?
It way too fast. I said the same thing. So now, but something else I see. When they close a facility like that, what happened? Those folks, they send them to neighboring communities, such as Brockton got a lot of them, Quincy, Randolph, and other communities that can support them. Which means you put more weight on what they already had. They should have studied how to handle the situation much better than they did. That's a lack of respect also.
It's true.
For the human being.
Right.
Because if you're homeless, it doesn't mean you're not thinking, doesn't mean you don't have a soul anymore. If you take a fall, it hurts, you cry. A homeless person can cry. They are feeling so. I know what it means to see them in the street corner. Some of them, they have so much pride. They don't want to be begging.
That's true.
They're not asking for anything they don't deserve. Just a piece of the American dream that is basically turning into a nightmare now.
It's true.
But that nightmare is control. It's not by accident.
It's true.
It's control.
It's driven. And I think that's the problem with the Trump administration. I believe going forward we will see this gigantic budget deficit that Trump is creating by stripping money from many budgets. The educational budget is one of them. Medicare is another. Health and Human Services. So many of, and the EPA. Money is being stripped from these agencies to give a tax break of $1 trillion to the very wealthy.
Which is unthinkable. We're saying, okay, now, reason should tell you, no, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. He's going against all the laws, all the established laws that say this country should perform a certain way. He wants to rewrite the rules. He's making his rules as it goes along. So now, basically, we're saying to the next generation, you're on your own. You make it or not, you're on your own. I just want you to know that. When you're cutting education, when you're cutting healthcare, and then it's not only that. We are a country who believed in youth, who invested in youth. That's not happening anymore. We're running away against the youth. The future, I mean, not the future, I'm sorry. The youth are the present. They're right here. They're making a difference. So now, whoever comes after them, we're telling them, well, you just out of luck. No, we're not supposed to do that. Those generations before us did not do that to us. Why should we do that to them?
It's true.
So we take, at the end of the day, we call up to the heart, the soul of America. That country who believes in fairness. That country who believes in helping those who cannot help themselves to wake up and make a change, make a U-turn fast as we can, because that way could lead to destruction. Not for some of us, but for all of us.
Ronel, that's an excellent point.
Thank you, sir.
So you mentioned youth, and I believe it's important that we get a look at a youth program that's facing a crisis in the immediate future. And it's a program that's here in Cambridge. It's Youth on Fire. Currently, Youth on Fire is seeking donations to help support many of its free services. In the last 2 years, the number of clients served has doubled, while funding has decreased. And it goes on to say, YOF, that's what they call it, Youth on Fire. A broad spectrum of vital services supports the opportunities. Let me get this up so we can see this,
Okay.
Ronel. Youth on Fire provides a broad spectrum of vital services, supports and opportunities based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs and positive youth development principles. Core elements of Youth on Fire's three-tiered service delivery system includes the following. Tier 1 services: hot meals, showers, laundry, lockers, voicemail and phone, and computer in a safe and welcoming drop-in center. Tier 2 supports behavioral health services, medical care, HIV, STI, and viral hepatitis screenings, housing search, enrollment in health insurance and benefits, educational workshops, and supported referrals for other self-identified needs. Ronel, does that sound like a program that would support youth?
Yes, we should invest in them. Give them opportunities to make a difference. Opportunities to show, all they ask you, give them material to show you what they can do. And you'll be amazed. You're talking about folks going to the moon, to Mars. These kids, they're ready to take you up to the edge of the universe.
It's true.
If you let them, if you invest in them, if you tell them they can do it. But all we're telling them now, they cannot do it.
It's the future.
They're not going to do it. You tell them, you claim down on them, no, you're not going there. We need more money from you.
The budget deficit in a rich city like Cambridge could probably be met easily. But it looks like that the budget deficit for Youth on Fire, a Cambridge-based group, is in crisis, and the call from this television show is that the city of Cambridge has an obligation to youth to make sure that this budget deficit is met.
Exactly. It's not only that. At the end of the day, you want to know when you go that you did extend a hand, a helping hand to the next generation.
Do you
pass
when
the
you say
values
go?
that you have.
When you say go, do you mean when I die?
When you're done with this job, even when you die. But those after you say, wow, he did his job. He extended a helping hand. He helped them see clearer. He showed them the way. This is what we are called to do. Not to block the path for everybody saying, well, I'm already there, then you don't need to be there. I'll tell you how it goes.
Wow.
No, we're not supposed to do that, Then we basically should lock all the doors saying, okay, we don't want to know anything about science anymore, no future for anybody. Or like how presidents is saying, global warming is something that was invented by China. All right? Yeah, it's not true. We need to think about these things.
It's true, Ronel. Let's get a look at what Youth on Fire has for their Tier 3 opportunities. We've read the first two. Tier 3 opportunities for Youth on Fire, and what the Youth on Fire of Cambridge is calling for the budget deficit to meet is peer outreach and education program, also youth advisory board, also a speakers bureau, art and talent shows, hiring committee, and community give back days in which members clean up the surrounding neighborhoods of Youth on Fire and Harvard Square. That is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, is there anything wrong with that?
No, certainly not.
Everything is right with that. Actually, that's what we should be doing. If they're doing that, why don't we support them? Why don't we even giving them more opportunity to be more, to do more, to go further?
It's an excellent point.
That's how it should be, but you know, it's too.
Ronel, Harvard University, I believe that Youth on Fire has its seat right next to Harvard University. With a $38 billion endowment, certainly Harvard could meet that deficit shortfall.
Over and over. Just a stroke of a pen is done. Exactly. Well, it's a lot of things, you know, that could be done in the city. But the issue of responsibility, actually we're looking first for the elected officials, you know, to take the lead on that. Because that's why we elected them, to do that.
Right.
To lead us in that way. But if they're not doing that, then we have right to call them, to protest, and to even harass them, because they're not doing what we ask of them.
Agree completely.
So, but at the end of the day, they need to hold everybody accountable for what they need to do, or for what they're doing wrong or right. You know, but there's a lot more to say, but you know.
That's an excellent point, Ronel. So actually, and the website here gives some information about what Youth on Fire has done annually. It says, annually Youth on Fire serves over 650 young adults who make over 5,000 visits to the center and connect members to 10,000 meals and snacks, almost 2,000 check-in conversations, and 650 risk reduction sessions, 230 HIV tests, 193 visits with a medical professional, 150 STI tests, 133 housing support referrals, 95 visits with mental health professional, and 40 Narcan overdose prevention enrollments.
Wow.
They're doing some good work.
Yeah. Actually, I think we should invite them to come and help us in City Life.
That would be a good idea.
That would be a good idea. So they get exposed to other things. But that is
that
great.
is an excellent idea.
Yes. Yes, we would love to do that. Because it's all about networking. That way, they know about us, we know about them, and we could work together.
That would be terrific.
Why not?
And Cambridge really does need to have some awareness here in the community about how money is changing Cambridge dramatically, very, very quickly. The example, of course, is this high-rise building, 21 stories that they're going to build right across from Cambridge Community Television.
Something I want you to see. Imagine for somebody that lived there 6 years ago, or let's say 10 years ago, and that someone doesn't live here anymore, and drive by one day saying, "What happened?"
Sure.
And then find out you cannot afford this anymore.
Oh wow!
Because while they built that, they did not have you in mind.
Oh,
you
true.
could never come back here.
It's true, yeah.
That's what's going on.
And Ronel, the point you're making is, through your own experience, you were driven farther and farther away from the city, where culture takes place, where friends are, where people that you knew. That's displacement, isn't it?
Displacement, big time, big time. That way, the whole community gets pushed away, and everybody is happy, but the community.
That's true.
Yeah, those who have those who have a lot of cash, they're happy. Well, we gotta do this in this other city. We gotta go to other states, and they duplicate themselves. That's what they're doing. We cannot move to many cities. I say, okay, I get moved out, I moved to New Jersey, or with my community. I cannot take the whole community with me.
It's true.
But that's what they're doing to us.
So the isolation increases then, doesn't it?
Exactly.
But now let's get a look at the last position here that Youth on Fire has in its website. It says, currently, Youth on Fire is seeking donations again. It's seeking donations because of the budget shortfall to help support many of its free services. In the last 2 years, the number of clients served has doubled while funding has decreased. Can you support their work with a donation? Whether it's $10 or much more than that, your donation will make a real difference in the life of a homeless young adult.
Mhm.
And it says $10 buys body wash and laundry detergent for a week. It says $50 buys 2 tea passes to help members get to medical appointments. $100 gloves, hats for a month. $250 buys socks and underwear for 2 months. $1,000 buy meals and snacks for 2 months. We thank you. Youth on Fire says in its website here, and the AIDS Action Committee, which works very closely with Youth on Fire. We thank you, and our members thank you. To make a donation to support Youth on Fire, contact AIDS Action Development, and the telephone number they give is info@aac.org, or the telephone number 617. I think I can increase the size of this so that viewers at home can see this. I think that's important to be able to see. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Contact information 617-661-2508, or email at YOF Youth on Fire AAC AIDS Action Committee.org.
Yes.
That information about, you were mentioning youth and how important it is to support youth. That is an example of a local organization that is in a financial crisis and has been supporting youth, I'm sure, since at least 15 years. I know of them for at least 10.
That's really something.
But your point that budget deficits can disable not only the elderly, the poor,
Needy.
the minorities, the needy, but also youth, and disabling them for long periods of time by prohibiting their getting an education,
Mhm.
learning a trade, getting started in life. It's a disastrous situation, and let's hope that Youth on Fire will be able to find that money to be able to continue their work.
Yes, we need to do that. Actually, I will donate. I want to support this organization.
Congratulations,
Because
Ronel.
I do believe we do not just talk, we do also.
And maybe
we
you can
take
take this
actions, yeah.
message back with you to
I will do that. City
Vida
Life.
Urbana. That is terrific.
Yes.
I think Cambridge could use a change like this because of the necessity to get a, let's move to another position right now. Ronel, we're looking here at a newspaper that brings up a lot of information. Dig Boston. Do you know Dig Boston? Do you know about this?
I heard of them. I think I've seen it a few times, but I never really got into it. Never did.
It's a popular magazine giving information about arts and entertainment often, but it also has, let's get this improvement to be able to read about what Dig Boston says, is a one-stop nexus for everything worth doing or knowing in the Boston area. It's an alt weekly, it's a website, it's an email blast, it's a Twitter account, it's the cool party that you were at last night. Hey, you're reading it and it's got to be good. That is some information about Dig Boston, and what this channel was interested in saying about Dig Boston is that it gives tremendous amount of information about the arts scene in the Boston area, and articles that are very interesting in nature.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really good. Actually, I'm
And it's
glad-
free.
It is free, right? Actually, I'm so glad you're saying this. I was speaking with somebody very recently who told me something I've never seen before. Why are we losing our creative juices, you know?
Well,
It turned out after a while, when we get older, we settle in life. We don't think we can create anymore. We don't use that imagination anymore. We just take things, well, that's how it is, or that's how it's supposed to be. We don't transform things anymore. I feel that's what's going on with these kids. We need to give them this opportunity to imagine, to have outreach, and to create.
great point.
Because at the end of the day, if they create, we did our jobs. What you do now, as you're saying this, I feel you're so right for standing up for them. Because otherwise, if you don't stand up with them, who's going to stand up with them? You have this platform. If you cannot use somebody with it, it's not used to them.
Good point, Ronel.
And I'm glad that you say that basically you're reaching out to say, I want to solve what's going on with this, what's wrong with the city. I don't want to make it worse. I want to show what's going on and help fix it together. Having that conversation, which too many times others don't want to have.
I think the work that Vida Urbana does is instrumental and extremely productive because it points out the errors, political, social, and economic, and finds a way to counteract them.
Thank you. And we love that. We wouldn't have it any other way.
Tell me something about how you got started. How was your actual first meeting with Vida Urbana? How did that come about?
Oh my, I keep saying it was a match made in heaven. I was losing my house at the time. And then when you're facing foreclosure, when you don't know the language, when you don't know what the notes that you have really says, it could make you're afraid when you see, oh my God, they're trying to evict me. What am I gonna do? And on my case, I have a family. My youngest at the time was 6 years old. And then I didn't want her to know that, and I have phone calls at times I could not answer. I was in jail in my own house. I would come home and turn off all the lights because I don't want anybody to even suspect I'm home. One time, the mortgage company, at the time, they could call you a lot. They called me 3 times, 4 times, so I look at her. I said, honey, if the phone rings again, answer it, tell them your daddy is not here. And something about kids, they have a way they bring the truth out of you. She said, Daddy, you always tell me not to lie. Are you afraid of these people? That word brought tears to my eyes.
Oh my God.
Because I'm saying, she is right. She doesn't deserve that. I should be able to speak with these people, or maybe I'm afraid of them. So then I found a red bag that came at home, somebody who came out canvassing, saying they could help. And I said, why would somebody choose to help us in that situation we're in? Nobody's gonna help us. And that's the shame that is associated with that you don't know, you don't know. The second time it came, my wife said, no, you should go. It's in the church. Don't you say you love God? Go see what's going on. You never know. And I went there, and then I was amazed. Everybody in there was going through what I was going through. And I'm saying, how do they know what's going on in my house? They don't live with me. But at that point, I decided to educate myself. And I started after a while canvassing, helping others, go get them, go have a meeting and all that stuff. And then after a while, I said, well, I really have to do that. Because I had a good vibe every time I helped somebody see it's not you. There's something wrong there. And after a while, I get there so many times, something up and up. Somebody left the job. They told me, you should try that. Let's see if you could come aboard as a part-timer. And I learned so fast, and then the time I'm a full-timer. And I would not give this for nothing in the world. It's not really work. It's not really work. It's a passion. That moves me. That moves me, sir.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very, very much.
That's a very moving story
Yes,
that you've given us. Thank you so much. And for your work at Vida Urbana, It's a great organization doing terrific work here in the community. And I believe I've heard that Vida Urbana has been doing this work now since 1973.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Actually, next year
It's 25 years?
45.
45.
45 years.
Terrific.
And that's why we're urging everybody, please support us. Please help us out. We need more money to organize the city, to tell each other what we can do, to build a future together, a better future.
That's terrific.
Thank you.
Ronel, it's inspiring. It's a terrific work that you're doing. You're an excellent representative, and perhaps it'll be possible for Vida Urbana to communicate with Youth on Fire in Cambridge and find a way to help organize that structure so that the money is found to support youth in Cambridge. A very excellent organization, Youth on Fire, working with HIV affected youth and stabilizing and promoting the work of education, support, and development of youth in Cambridge. I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have for today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Ronel, there's a button on that machine that you can push that says,
You want off?
no, stop.
Stop. Oh, this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that should be spinning, and thanks ever so much for coming to Cambridge Community Television.
Thank you very much for
Done
having
an
us.
excellent job. We are now off the